Raven himself is hoarse that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts. When in disgrace, with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate, wishing myself to one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy contented least. Yet in these thoughts myself almost despising, haply I think on thee. And then my state, like to the lark at break of day, arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings. This is so beautiful. What a way to start a show.
Hey, Renee, I can't help but notice your hair has grown awfully fast.
Yes. I was taking this William Shakespeare class, and my teacher came from a rehearsal for The Merchant of Venice, and she had this beautiful hairpiece in this rehearsal skirt. And I thought, well, what a great way to really get into the period. So I went to this Macbeth audition with this hairpiece, and lo and behold, it stayed forever. This is it.
How did you come to be with the company Shakespeare by the Sea? How did you find them?
I was looking to do a Shakespeare play for the experience after 10 years of, of being away from the live theater, and randomly saw an audition for Shakespeare by the Sea doing Much Ado About Nothing and Macbeth. Thought, well, I'll just go try out and see what happens. You see me, Lord Bassanio, where I stand, such as I am. Though for myself alone I would not be ambitious in my wish to wish myself much better, yet for you I would be trebled 20 times myself, 1,000 times more fair, 10,000 times more rich, that only to stand high in your account I would in virtues, beauties, livings, friends exceed account. But the full sum of me is sum of something.
In the interview we did, you mentioned liking the classics, and classics like Tennessee Williams and Ibsen. What attracted you specifically to going into Shakespeare right now?
I took a class at the Will Gehr's Theatricum Britannicum that analyzed only William Shakespeare's works. So by participating in a play from Shakespeare, I could really apply what I'd learned, and that was my main focus for the summers, to do Shakespeare only. I think all the classics are interesting for actors because there are layers to the characters that you can keep analyzing. William Shakespeare in particular has a rhythm to his words. Naught's had, all spent, where our desires got without content. To safer to be that which we destroy than by destruction dwell in doubtful joy. God bless William Shakespeare. Get on him. Before the show starts, you'll see all the actors spread out in this park, and everyone does different things. Some guys get on the edge of these this wall here, which falls over the cliff, and they just sing to the ocean. I go and do yoga underneath a palm tree. I think that's quite relaxing. Some of the guys play ball, so you see bits of everything. But the idea is to warm up physically, vocally.
classics plays would you like to attend?
I would, at some time, like to study Bernard Shaw and then possibly do one of his plays, but I don't know enough about him and his style of writing to actually attempt it yet. But maybe next summer.
How did Shakespeare by the Sea start?
Our producer, Lisa Coffey, was trying to get her master's degree, and she decided to put on Shakespeare in the Park in San Pedro, California, as her thesis project. 5 years later, she's putting on 2 plays a summer. It's mostly all volunteer work. Everyone's doing it for the love of Shakespeare. And that's what we're doing. Here we are.
Been a lot of Xena fans coming to the show?
There've been there's a lovely turnout of Xena fans who have been coming to see Shakespeare. I'd heard that a lot of people were trying to read the plays before they came to see them, and I was very impressed. I thought, well, good on you. And yeah, everyone's been so sweet. It's nice to actually put some faces to the feedback we've been getting over the 6 years on the show. So.
How is it performing in front of a live audience?
Theater's so different from television because you perform in front of a live audience. You have babies crying, dogs barking, being outdoors. And it's such an organic quality that it's addictive. It's completely different from television, where you stop and go. This is something that once you get started, you just take off and you're flying off that cliff.
Do you see the audience?
At the beginning of this show, I do a warm-up for the audience where we go and we interact with everyone. So I really start looking around to see who's out there. If there are a lot of children, there are families, an older audience. And then I'm able to connect with them for the rest of the play. I just have an idea of who's with me on this journey.
You're performing engine, you're performing outdoors, and there weren't many motorcycles and helicopters in the 1600s. Has that ever been a problem, and what do you do when the Harleys take off?
Shakespeare by the Sea started in San Pedro, and at the very end of this park is a biker bar. So we have a few guys who come and go during the performances, and everyone tries to speak above it, but every now and then you get this convoy that just keep going by. So you have to wait and pause and then start again. It's pretty funny.
It's also very cold at night, and does that affect your voice? Does it affect how you work?
You probably can't tell, but there's a cliff on the other side of this park. So you have this huge breeze that comes in the evening, and all the actors are sort of shaking underneath the costumes. Toes are quivering, knees are buckling, so that's part of it, but that might be attributed to the nerves, probably, I think, for me.
Do you miss having the use of close-ups as a tool in your performance?
I don't think so. I believe that if you're really connecting with the character and what's going on in the story, that comes across regardless of how close the audience is to you, hundreds of yards or right in front of you. I don't have a problem with that. I don't know. Maybe I should.
In TV, you do bits of scenes at a time. What is the impact on you as an actor to do a performance from beginning to end with no opportunity for retakes? How does that affect your performance? How does it affect how you work on what you're doing?
It's funny for me that I think theater is almost like doing a one-take performance. You walk out there, once you begin, you can't stop. And to me, it's much more exciting to know that if I do make a mistake, I have to keep going and have to forgive myself, who's the biggest critic. So that's probably the most exciting part of doing theater, is that everyone's there with you, regardless if it's a wonderful performance or if you make up your own dialogue. Sit, worthy friends. My lord is often thus, and hath been from his youth. Pray you keep seat. The fit is momentary. Upon a thought he will again be well. If much you note him, you shall offend him and extend his passion. Feed and regard him not. Are you a man?
There are stories about made-up Shakespeare dialogue.
Really?
Right there, yes.
I've heard a story. I heard a story that if an actor corpses on stage, meaning they forget all their lines, that if they're doing Shakespeare, they're so into the rhythm of the iambic pentameter that they actually ad-lib in the rhythm of the dialogue. It hasn't happened to me yet, so. I mean, I've made my share of mistakes, but I haven't completely died yet on stage. So not literally.
You talked about watching a video of Judi Dench and her performance of the candle scene, during which she admits a piercing wail. I've noticed over the past few weeks you're getting more and more emotional in that scene. Is it harder to give yourself over to a highly dramatic scene live with an audience right there in front of you as opposed to on film?
Interesting. Doing the Lady Macbeth sleepwalking scene has been an area that I connect to more deeply every time I do the play. It's never been hard for me to understand what she's going through, but to really connect to the depth of agony and remorse and despair and condemnation has been a strong challenge for me to just reach out and get a little more dramatic each time to try to grasp this Judi Dench quality that I saw on a video. Damn her, you know. So each time I just try to let it go and really connect with the wailing of the woman at that time, which is what she did. I'll forever be, cursing her.
It takes a lot of bravery. Are you a brave actor?
There comes a point when you're performing that you forget about your inhibitions and expectations of what you want the character to be. And I'm pretty good at going there, but sometimes you need to step out of those comfort zones and explore, and that's what this Shakespeare has done for me, both with the language and going to these heightened areas that I've never had to go before. Killing a king, come on.
So you've now done the play. You've now done the play for 4 weeks. How has your performance changed over that time? How do you feel about it now compared to that opening night?
There's a quality of Lady Macbeth that I've gained through performing her with the live audience that is darker than what I started with. And that's just from exploring, again, that dark force that's within her, that there's no stopping her once she gets started. So to me, I get a stronger sense of who she is every time I play her. It's great. And I love working with Patrick Vest, who plays Macbeth, because he's such he's an actor who will not give up. He's always working to become better at what he's doing, and he says that Macbeth is the most challenging character he's ever played. Go figure. So every week before the performance, we go and rehearse for 2 hours, and you think most people, they couldn't be bothered. I don't think. So it just shows that he's passionate about doing a good job. They met me in the day of success, and I have learned by the perfectest report there is more in them than mortal knowledge. When I burned in desire to question them further, they made themselves air, into which they vanished. Whilst I stood, wrapped in the wonder of it, came missives from the king, who all hailed me Thane of Cawdor, by which title before the weird sister saluted me, and referred me to the coming on of time with hail, King that shalt be. This have I thought good to deliver thee, my dearest partner of partner in greatness, that thou mightst not lose the dues of rejoicing by being ignorant of what greatness is promised thee. Lay it to thy heart and farewell. Glamis thou art, and Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. Yet do I fear thy nature. It is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Thou wouldst be great, art not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it. What thou wouldst highly, that wouldst thou holily. Wouldst not play false, and yet would wrongly win. Thou'st have great Glamis, that which cries, thus thou must do if thou have it. And that which rather thou dost fear to do than wishest should be undone. Hie thee hither, that I may power my spirit into thine ear, and chastise with the valor of my tongue all that impedes thee from the golden round which fate and metaphysical age doth seem to have thee crowned withal. The raven himself is hoarse, that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty. Make thick my blood, stop up the access and passage to remorse, that no compunctious visitings of nature shake my fell purpose, nor keep peace between the effect and it. Come to my woman's breasts and take my milk for gall, you murdering ministers. Wherever in your sightless substances you wait on nature's mischief. Come, thick night, and pull thee in the dunnest smoke of hell. Let my keen knife see not the wound it makes, nor heaven peep through the blanket of the dark to cry, hold, hold. Okay, now to go do it.
Wait a minute. I forgot to tell everyone. What's the name of this play?
Shakespeare by the Sea is doing the Scottish play. And the reason they call it the Scottish play is because there's a curse to it that's been going on for centuries, way back to the time that supposedly William Shakespeare played the part of Lady Macbeth after the actor who was cast passed away. Laurence Olivier hurt himself. He sprained his ankle because his interpretation of Macbeth had all these physical attributes where he had to jump off tables and chairs, and so there's that. There was a riot in the audience during one performance. During another performance, some actors were unloading their gypsy van. It was probably a wagon, right? And a man walked up to ask what performance they were doing. They said Macbeth, just as a spear comes down and stabs them. So you hear all these stories, not to mention the fact that the character of Macbeth and Lady Macbeth are quite challenging and subjective. So people wonder, why would you even try it? You can never really appease the audience's perception of who these characters are, so to speak. So those are the challenges of putting on Macbeth.
You've just said the name of the play.
Yes.
I was going to try and do the whole interview without ever saying it, because I didn't want to get cursed.
I know.
Is there any way to remove that curse?
Well, there are several ideas on uncursing the performances for Macbeth. Supposedly you can walk around a theater backwards, or you can stand in the theater, turn around 3 times, spit, and then walk backwards to your part. However, for Shakespeare by the Sea, they've come up with their own way of undoing the curse. And this young girl created this chant that I am fortunate enough to share with everyone before the play. It goes, you said, McPhee, now shake your big booty, undo the curse, there's nothing worse, now shake it like Britney. Now we can all do the play tonight without any problems.